What are the best mods for Men of War Assault Squad 2? Hey guys, I hope you're all having a great day. I'm Mighty Mapper123 and welcome to my top 10 best mods for Men of War Assault Squad 2. In this video I am going to be showing you what I think my best mods are, so it's going to be my personal opinion, and I'm also going to tell you a little bit about them. I'm even going to be dropping some links in the description so you guys can get access to them very easily. So before we start this video, I'd like you to smash that like button below, also subscribe, join the Mighty Nation, and tell me in the comments what your favourite Men of War Assault Squad 2 mod is. So some of you guys watching will know that the Men of War games have always been a personal favourite of mine. You can tell this just by looking at the amount of hours I've put into the game. Yeah, majority of that is in its amazing Gem 2 map editor, but I have squandered a little in its campaign missions, and I've also had a blast in some multiplayer battles with friends. I find the game to be packed full of action. I find it also very competitive, and most of all super nostalgic, taking me way back to those happy days as a kid playing with my toy army men. But like any game, the story can become very overplayed, and its genre can get very boring after some time. But one thing that always got me coming back to this game has got to be its modding community. I have downloaded so many mods over the years, and in my personal opinion, these are my top 10 favourites. Number 10. ValMart. Having only ever played this mod in multiplayer, I found it to be very fun as it added new playable factions such as France, Italy and Greece, and the available co-op missions were extremely satisfying to play, with such favourites being the defence of Poland and others submitted by my friend Pershing on the workshop. I have yet to explore more of what this mod has to offer for single player and for the editor, but what I've heard, it is a complete overhaul of the vanilla game, bringing in new sounds, effects, skins, and I can definitely say this makes a great number 10 on my list. Number 9. Sir Hinkle's Maps and Missions. Sir Hinkle has to be one of the most known mappers and mission scripters for Men of War. He has created some amazing art using his skills in the Gem 2 engine, and having played almost all of his work, I can safely say that he definitely deserves to be part of this list. He has been a huge inspiration to me wanting to become a mapper for the Men of War games, as I personally think he is one of the first people to set new standards for modding, mapping and mission scripting. One of my favourite missions of his has to be his map of Omaha Beach. The detail is amazing, and I found the gameplay to be flawless when either attacking or even defending with my MG42 bunkers. Sir Hinkle's skills were notably the best of its time, and he now works for the developers at Digital Mindsoft, the actual game developers of Men of War. Number 8. Heroes of the Napoleonic mod. So when I first downloaded this mod, I thought it to be just a rip-off of the popular Born in the Fire America mod, but boy was I wrong. The creator Dan the Strategist and this team did an amazing job, giving the mod that authentic Napoleonic feel it needed, with its slow-paced musket gameplay and new HD human skins. I must have spent countless hours creating line battles and charging my cavalry into British square formations, and yes, they have cavalry. I also love the ranges of the weapons and the fact that they are so inaccurate, it makes the battles seem longer and more intense, leaving you guessing which soldier in your lines will be the next to get lead poisoning. The mod's downfall was sadly the lack of variety in its factions, as there were only a select amount of skins to choose from, and limited props to place down on the battlefields when you're creating that awesome map. This mod still made my list though due to its wow factor when it comes to the Napoleonic era, and because I thought it to be quite original for its time. Number 7. Rising Empire demo. I just had to put this mod in my list, even though we only got a taste of what the developers Buzztron and Apone had to offer, but this mod surely turned the tide for Men of War as a whole. The first Star Wars mod of its kind, and truly amazing it is, in the words of Yoda. Rising Empire took us all by surprise, unleashing new capabilities, game code and more to the modding community. Just thinking of those AT-ATs hitting the snowy plains of Hoth got us all hyped up for those ultimate battles in a galaxy far, far away. With 2 exciting demo missions and a fair few assets to work with in the editor, it has to be one of the best overhauls for Men of War Assault Squad 2. But as a whole, it was only a demo and later left dormant by the developers, who moved on to other projects such as Half-Life 2 mod and the Halo mod, which I will include as honourable mentions. You can see on the developers' YouTube channels that the mod has progressed beyond imagining, making it one of the most wanted mods in all of the Men of War communities. Hopefully, someday they may release it. Number 6, the Dark Santera Mod. The Dark Sintera Mod is a one-man creation made by no other than Sullenman himself, an absolute legend in the modding community. He created a huge extensive overhaul mod based in a post-apocalyptic fantasy universe. The mod brought me hours of fun with its near unlimited amount of new assets, funny characters, robots, hilarious looking fauna and more. It is literally like playing a different game when experiencing a 20-foot robot shooting lasers at giant trolls and throwing grenades that can spawn machine gun turrets. Despite the mod's success though, the developer has moved on to bigger projects now, and there has been no update for quite some time. Number 5, Red Rising Mod and Dark Rising Mod. So after getting very bored with the standard vanilla World War II gameplay, I wondered, could there be a mod that brings us to the modern era? And I found just that with the Red Rising mod. The multiplayer is epic and addictive, and it brought to us mappers a ton of new assets to work with, such as new modern weapons, awesomely made modern vehicles, hundreds of human skins and props to choose from, and its new coding that allowed us to somewhat fly helicopters and be immersed in the new maps and missions made in the late 20th century. But my favourite part of this mod has to be the fauna, giving us zombies, demons and much more. I can't even think of how many times I have been lost for words when either reenacting a World War III scenario or just simply seeing how many waves of zombies just one squad of US Marines can take on before being devoured. I would definitely say that the Red Rising mod is the original of the original when it comes to a complete overhaul of the game, and I would have recommended this mod to anyone around 2 years ago. But with how far the modding community has come since, there are much better modern mods to choose from, but we will get to that later in the list. Number 4, Born in the Fire America mod. This mod started out to be the first of its kind, known as the ACW mod in its early days. The developer Rick did an amazing job, giving us an enormous variety of assets to play around with from the 18th and 19th century. He added loads of missions to play in the single player mode, such as the Battle of Bunker Hill and much more. He also made the mod a mapper's dream with its extensive catalogue of new props, weapons, animations, effects and more. There is honestly no better mod to make a map with, as its graphics are outstanding and gameplay addictive and satisfying. You are able to recreate movies such as The Good, the Bad and the Ugly and The Patriot, or maybe even reenact the War of 1812. He even added some Napoleonic assets recently, making this mod a must get. You get it? Must get? Nope, okay, just me. But yeah, definitely one of my favourite all-time mods, but still due to its lack of melee capabilities, it has to rank number 4 in my list. Number 3, Call of Duty World War III mod. So as I mentioned earlier that the Men of War modding community has improved drastically over the years, it really goes to show in this Call of Duty port over to Men of War. So many cool skins, weapons, props and more to choose from, and an absolute stunner for visuals. Call of Duty World War III, also known as COD World War III, mod gets number 3 position in my list, as it tops any other modern mod out there currently. The developers have replicated some of the actual missions from the Call of Duty games, and the maps made by Wigger in particular are very well made. I love this mod, and this with a combination of the zombies from Red Rising make for a great sub-mod to be able to create that epic realistic zombie battle. Number 2. So I thought long and hard about this one, and I'm going to have to give my number 2 position to Warhammer 40k. So the Warhammer 40k mod, the developers of the Warhammer 40k mod have done some things with the engine that were thought to be impossible in the Men of War Assault Squad 2 community, pulling off brand new assets on near enough every level. And I'm talking robots, I'm talking tanks, I'm talking magic, you name it, it's in the mod. So if it literally feels like you're playing a Warhammer RTS game. There are so many assets to choose from, including many factions and units that bring you back to those days playing the Dawn of War games. When I first got the mod, I was like a kid in a candy store. You honestly could spend hours looking through its entities in the editor and can't even begin to imagine how hard the developers have been working on this mod. So here we are at number 1, and I just can't make my mind up because I am torn between two really great mods, and I'm going to have to call it a tie, I think, and put them both at the number 1 position. So I have decided to choose Rob's Realism and Star Wars Galaxy at War. So I could not fit on one piece of paper how much I love about these two mods because my pen would run out of ink. But I've got to say that Star Wars Galaxy at War and Rob's Realism have got to be a joint number 1 on my list. And that's because Rob's Realism is how Men of War should have been, because it adds new assets such as new human skins, which there are a ton of, and we've got new maps, we've got new FX, and it's practically a complete revamp of Men of War Assault Squad 2. It's how the game should have been, I believe. And it's the same goes for Galaxy at War. Galaxy of War saved Men of War as a whole. I genuinely think that Men of War wouldn't sell as many copies of their game if it wasn't for Galaxy at War, because the Galaxy of War team, Juju, Lieutenant Murphy, you guys, you have done so much for the community because you have brought in a whole new branch, as such, a whole new brand, and the Star Wars guys that have come over have really sort of brought the community to life. And I must say, Star Wars Galaxy War has to be one of the most popular mods that I've ever seen for any game, I must say. And the same goes for the Rob's Realism mod, and all of the mods really in general, because I can't imagine the profits that Digital Mindsoft and Bestway and all the other companies that work with Men of War have profited from the modding community themselves, because the modders have pretty much made their own games within their engine. I mean, Galaxy at War is its own game, Rob's Realism is its own game. It's not the same as the original games. They come with tons more assets, tons. I mean, it's just amazing how much work you modders put into your projects and stuff. So a big shout out to all you modders out there. You've really kept this community alive for some time now, and I've been part of this community for around, I don't know, 7 years, I think, 7 or 8 years, and I've just watched it grow. I've watched it grow from nothing to what it is today. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed my top 10 best mods for Men of War Assault Squad 2. And I will give some honourable mentions to some other mods as well. So mods such as the Corsairs Magic Storm mod, World War 1 Realism mod, a really cool mod. It's like Rob's Realism but in World War 1. We have the Half-Life 2 mod, we have Halo mod, we have so many other mods that I've probably missed. Do tell me in the comments, did you hear your favourite mod shouted out? And did I miss it? So if I did miss it, do let me know in the comments. And tell me if you agree or disagree with my list. It'll be interesting to see what you guys have to say, and maybe, who knows, we might find some new mods in the comments that we've never heard of. So this has been my 2018 edition of this video, and it is the first of its kind. So I thank you all for watching, and please do hit that like button and hit that subscribe button, join the Mighty Nation, and also be sure to check out my Patreon. So my Patreon offers exclusive rewards, and it's also a really great way for you to show your love and appreciation for the work that I'm putting in for you guys, because it can take me up to 13, sometimes even 15 hours just to put out one Men of War video for you guys, and I don't earn much money from it whatsoever. I mean, ad revenue's a bit, if you ask me. But yeah, if you do want to support me on Patreon, I'll be most grateful. Even just $1 would help. So thank you all for watching, and I will see you all in the next one.